Grand rising, grand evening, whatever time it is for you. So, I want to talk about false lights and false prophets today. I want to preface this video by saying that I am not sharing this information to condemn anyone, because I am all too aware that our journeys and where we are on our paths and our experience within this human experience is tailor-made specifically for each being and each fractal. And I hold no judgment on where anyone is on their path, because I truly believe that wherever someone is on their path, it is leading them home. It is leading them to self. It is leading them to truth. It is leading them back to Source, Mother, Father, Source, God of all. And so I honor and I observe and I respect where people are in their journeys. You know, in this system, in this matrix, the false matrix, that many people on this planet have been extremely conditioned by, it makes it really difficult, for people to recognize when they've been brainwashed, manipulated, when they are so deeply under the film of psyops, to recognize that they are being used, that their minds, their bodies, their souls, that their vessels are being used and exploited to bring about an agenda that causes destruction and harm to the collective humanity as a whole versus healing, right? With that being said, there are some things that I've recognized on my own path and on my own journey. I've actually had the opportunity to meet certain individuals who are operating in that false light, false prophet energy. And so false lights can be found, in every organized religious group, in the spiritual community, in the political spectrum, on the world stage, in the idol, network. And I want to start by the wording, okay? Because this is a really good indication. As I just stated, I called the world a stage. That is not actually how I view Earth. I view Gaia as a school, right? And words carry intention behind them, and they carry a frequency. And so it's really important. I like to be very mindful about the words that I use. And while I just called Earth, Gaia, the world stage, I was more speaking to the way that that false light energy perceives, receives, and operates on this earth plane. And so we're going to break down the dualistic nature of that false light energy versus is authentically occurring light. I've recognized that actual light workers, actual prophets, they view Earth as a school, whereas people who are influenced by false light energy, they view Earth as a stage. Over here, you have your guides, spiritual guides. Over here, you have your life coaches, right? The word coach is indicative of a game, which leads me to my next observation in the false light energy spectrum. many of these individuals who are wholly possessed by principalities, they do view life as a game to be won, a game to be conquered. And they view other beings as simply pieces to this game. Now, in the more religious spectrum, and this goes for, so what I'm about to share, there are absolutely, false prophets. A lot of the false light, false prophet energies that are more religious based are connected to organized religion. I've had the opportunity to speak with and connect with a lot of end time prophets. But there's a very interesting connection between those end time Zionists, extremists, whether it's in Catholicism, Christianity, any of the organized religions. It's that. So, story time. I'll just share a little snippet from my experience. Before I was where I currently am, I was at a safe house in Kansas. In this safe house, there was a woman there who wore the mask of being a prophet, like an end of times type prophet. I believe that she was part of the Catholic community. I'm not entirely sure. But what I found so interesting was she was so obsessed with her prophecies that she shared with her church coming true, that she was physically making herself ill and driving herself mad to ensure that the things she prophesies came to pass. Physically, I watched this woman's health deteriorate. I watched as she operated with her cortisol levels through the roof, constantly in fight or flight, trying to, sorry, I just spit. I'm not editing that out, so you're just going to have to deal with my spit. Okay, sorry, that just totally threw me off. Moving on. Where was I? Guys, today has been really interesting. It's a beautiful day. It's gorgeous outside. And okay, I don't want to do the weird ADHD hopping around thing. We're staying on topic. I should have took notes, but I didn't. I was like, oh, I'm not on a time constraint. I'm just going to, just have a sit down talk and just trust in my own abilities to guide us through this conversation. So I'm not sure if that was a good, wise choice on my end or not, but I guess we'll find out together. So basically, I watched this woman harm herself and try to force outcomes, force potentials, force what she prophesies to be to her detriment. I was physically watching her, because as I've stated several times, the human body is not meant to maintain homeostasis when you are constantly in a state of survival and fear and desperation and obsession. And those are very big emotional frequencies, but they are degrading to the soul, the spirit. And if anything that degrades your soul and your spirit eventually touches your physical vessel, they're all very interconnected. Mind, body, soul complex is interconnected. So affecting one eventually will start to affect the other parts of your grand trine. But, and I watch this and I recognize that it seemed like what was driving her, truly, at its core, what was of importance to her was being correct. It wasn't so much about faith, it was more about fear. It wasn't so much about trusting in the unfolding of her experience and the guidance that she received and the prophecies that she received. It was more fear-based, fear-driven, and panicking that the things she stated to others while using this, Catholic prophecy mask were not going to come to be, which would affect her reputation in the way that she was observed and seen in the public eye. And I'll say that that is not of the light. Anytime it's fear-based over faith-based, that's something that I think you should be looking at. That's something that deserves, deeper inspection, right? Anytime what's driving you is solely based on how you are to be perceived or received, well, you have to ask what exactly is guiding you, right? What's guiding those messages? Who exactly and what source are you getting your information from? Because I know, for me, Most High, Mother, Father, Source, God of all creation, life, death, and becoming, when I've received prophecies, when I receive sacred transmissions, when I channel, when I receive information from the divine, there is no fear. There is no worry about how the message is going to be received or perceived, because it's not about that. There is just a strong, intuitive, unshakable, and drive in me to share what I'm guided to share when I'm guided to share it, right? It is fully faith-driven, and it feels aligned, so it doesn't make me anxious. It doesn't make me sick. It doesn't make me obsessive. I don't feel like I have to force an outcome or force a potential so that I'm seen in a certain light, right? So that I'm seen in that false light, so that what I prophesized and what I shared becomes true. That is not natural. And the way that I receive and experience God is that God is truth. God is naturally occurring. God is authentic. Anything that needs to be manipulated, forced, or coerced, or created with the intention of making something that would not have naturally played out or come to pass that's not a prophecy. Well, it's not a prophecy of the light. That's false light prophecy, because that's literally that's principality, that's manipulation, that's playing God is what it is. That's playing God of seeing yourself as a god of man, and that is blasphemous in every sense of the word. But you can see that same pattern play out in every system and every group where there is false light. And I know I got a little bit off track. I was still on my verbiage on the semantics thing, because there's some really interesting things I've noticed. You can tell a lot about a person by the words that they use, which words they use over others. And I don't mean so much about a person, but about their intention and about the way that they perceive, right? the eyes that they see through, the perceptual lens they see through. And I've recognized that there are specific words that light workers, people who are truly being guided by the Most High Source God energy, Christ consciousness, there are certain words they'll use over words that false lights use. And it's a direct reflection and mirroring of our perceptual lenses in the way that we see and observe the world. I would never call myself a life coach, right? I'm a guide. Because I do not view people's lives, people's livelihoods as a game. I view life as an experience, right? And so I offer guidance so that people have the free will opportunity to take or leave what they want in the information that I share, right? And everything I share is with the intention for people to guide themselves back to self and connect deeper and deeper with that cosmic flow of energy that connects all things. And in doing so, deeper and deeper to truth and authenticity, and deeper with God, right? But when you look on the false light spectrum, what you have is people stating a thing, wearing a mask of false light, making a claim, and then creating through manipulation, through psyops, through, so the false light agenda, the entire thing is a psyop. It's a psychological operation. And whether they are consciously doing it, whether it's a conscious motivator or a subconscious motivator, it's the same energy working through all of those people, right? And again, I'm not judging. There are people who don't even recognize or realize that that energy is working through them. And the agenda that they are helping spread and infect other people with, right? But anytime, whether you are in an organized religious space, whether you are in politics, whether you are a false idol, anytime you have to create the experience, the problem, the issue, the prophecy to offer the solution or to offer the coaching or the guiding or the answer to an issue that you yourself created with your own hand, with your own air, with your own passionate fire, with your own water by manipulating people's emotions, with your own earth by physically creating circumstances and situations yourself, and then coming in cloaked in that false light garment to save people, to offer guidance, to offer answers, to offer solutions. You are operating as a false light. And I will say this, because I'm not going to give everyone, a clean bill of non-judgment, right? Because a lot of these people are under judgment. Not my judgment, but they're under judgment nonetheless, spiritually. They are spiritually dehydrated, and they are under judgment for appointing themselves gods of men, right? For overstepping people's free will and sovereignty, for manipulating the minds of the masses, for creating the very evil that they offer you solutions for, right? It sucks. Okay, so back to the wordplay, the semantics that I've recognized. Let me think. So I shared the life coach versus guide, I've shared the earth being a school versus earth being a stage, because if it is a world stage, then we are all actors, and the only people that act are people who are wearing masks or playing a character or wearing a costume. And none of those things are authentic, natural, or real. It's a show, it's an illusion. You see how all of those words connect. They do. A life coach means life's a game, right? To play. The world's a stage to act on, to perform on, right? And then you have, people who are just being, right? They're just existing, just being themselves, showing up and doing whatever they're guided to, whatever feels true to them, whatever's natural and authentically occurring. You have your guides, right? You have your activists, you have your people standing up for truth, for seeing things, people seeing things, calling them out as they are. I know, I feel like if you can just listen to the words that people use, you can feel the intention behind the words, whether it is something that they're consciously doing or subconsciously doing. It really doesn't matter. It still has the same effect. So it's important, that we recognize that there is from that singularity, from that point where everything was birthed, from the one, two was birthed, everything's built on dualistic potential. So anything, if you're here in the spiritual community, or if you are, someone of the light and you're in an organized religious community, or you're in a political spectrum, or you are a celebrity of some sort, remember that nothing on this earth plane and this earth school exists without its opposite. That's why it's a school. We would learn nothing if everything was just one half of the whole, right? Because you wouldn't have anything to compare it to. There would be nothing to learn. There would be no mirror, right? To have a mirror that's functional, someone needs to be looking in it, and the mirror needs to be reflecting back. That's receptivity. It's that, what's the word I'm looking for? Snapping. Sorry, I'm kind of in a goofy mood today. It is that intrinsic reciprocal relationship between dual potentials. In Earth truly is a school. That's how I understand it. That's how I've experienced it. That's how I see it. That's how it's been shown to me. That's how I recognize it. That's how I feel it. That's how I know it. Earth is a school. It is a school built on dualistic principles. The dual nature of reality, the dual nature of all things. But both dual potentials still came and was birthed from the one, that singularity, that the black hole, white hole, whatever you want to call it, that everything was birthed out of, the cosmic womb that is God, that cosmic flow of energy that was birthed out of that cosmic hole, birthing canal, right? It birthed twins, right? It birthed twins that embody opposing energies. But what people don't often recognize is that because everything truly is dualistic principles, and everything's built on the dualistic principles of reality, that even with that cosmic womb, for lack of better words, birthing twins, right? Birthing polarities, that in even calling those polarities, they must also be counterparts. I really hope that I'm making, sometimes I can get like a little, but I make sense to me, and I do know that I will make sense to those who resonate with my energy, and that's who I'm sharing these messages for, right? those looking for the information and those who have the open mind and the perceptual lens to receive what I am sharing, right? Wholly and fully. But yeah, so, and that's really how I see things. It's like even things that are opposing actually aren't, because they come from this, the two come from the same one. And it is in, this polarity mirroring this polarity constantly ping-ponging that both polarities become whole and turn back into the one. Everything's cyclical. Everything is a cycle. Everything is infinite. But I still think that because everything, both polarities, both false light and light, authentically occurring light, we're still all coming to the same meeting point, which is that singularity, which is truth, which is God's source, right? The two are returning back into the one. We are merging. Now, what that experience feels and looks like for the false light collective, it's going to look and be experienced completely differently than the other potential, the other polarity, the other collective here, right? These two collectives are going to be experiencing dual potential, death energy and life energy. You have a collective of individuals on the planet right now that the way that they're going to return back to source is by descending, right? By descending. And then you have another collective of individuals on the planet who are connecting with source, with God, with that same truth, that same one point by ascending. And that's just the way it is. I have no idea if I may even got to every point in this video that I wanted to make, but it's okay. It's fine. Here's some things to think about, and I will leave them with you. But before I go, the lighting behind me is making things weird. Sorry, guys. It's a little better. I still have like a going on right here. But I'm going to leave you guys with a light worker oracle card for your day, for your week, or your experience. I love these cards, by the way. They're so pretty. The last thing I'll say is that everything is happening exactly as it should. Everything's following. Sorry. Everything's following a divine blueprint. And so, for those of you who are operating in faith over fear, just know that everything's deconstructing and reconstructing exactly as it should and exactly the way it should, and it's all in alignment with divine timing and the grand design and unfolding of everything unfolding to return back into one. The two are returning back to one. The two are making that infinite journey loop to return back to source. And once we hit that crossroad moment as two dual collectives, that's when the real magic happens, because then an entirely different experience is birthed from the two becoming one or crossing over. And because Earth is a school, there will always be that dualistic principle, but what we're stepping into, I guess the big difference is that the time for unintegrated shadow is over. So it's like dark shadow expression, evil, what people call, it'll still be, right? But everyone will be aware of it. So the way that it's expressed, like I've stated several times, once you observe something, once you see something, once you become aware of something, the way that it is received, the way that it is observed, the way that it is expressed, and the effect that it has on the world and on the person observing and on the person experiencing it changes, right? And that's truly what this is all about. It's not that dark or evil, that energy will cease to exist. It's that its expression is going to change because everyone will be aware of it. It will be seen, right? It will be observed. And so its expression will be conscious versus subconscious. The subconscious making itself conscious because the time for unintegrated shadow is gone, right? And so just as many of you have, I guess another example I could use, I don't want to ramble for too long. This video is already at like 31 minutes. Just like with us light workers, us light beings, we did so much shadow work, right? And once we integrated those shadows, once we were able to observe our shadows and integrate them, they expressed differently. They expressed in a way that wasn't harmful to self or harmful to other, right? Because we became consciously aware of it. And once you see something, it can't be unseen. It can't go back to being unseen and subconscious. And that is what's happening on a grand scale, collectively and cosmically, on our planet right now. I do hope that I explain that in a way that can be received by those who are meant to receive it. Back to our... I'm not the best at... what do you call it? I can't even think of the word right now. Gosh, I need to have coffee before I do these videos. Shuffling, I'm not the best, but I'll keep practicing so I can be all like cool like the tarot readers and just make that really cool like card sound. That's almost like ASMR to me. Sometimes I just listen to those readings just for that, you know, that sound. Ah, I lost a card. That's our card. Whichever card just fell, that's the card we're gonna read, okay? All right, you ready? It is, initiation by air. Well, I have no idea what that card is, so let's get the guidebook and let's read. So that was 24. While I'm doing that, I just want to say that I'm sending you guys so much love, and I hope that you guys are doing well. We're going to get up close and personal so you can look into my eyes. 24. I love you guys, and I thank you for being here, whoever is here. Initiation by air. You have a strong and powerful mind. The mind can be a great asset. It can bring comfort, peace, and strength as you to take your spiritual journey. It can also be a dark and destructive force, undermining your power, making you doubt your own heart and keeping you trapped in fear. Were we not just talking about this dual potential in my message today? Look at how synchronistic that is. The mind, developed without a loving spiritual practice, can be a frightening weapon rather than a liberating sword. How will you choose to use your mind power? That's what we were just talking about, guys. There's that false light, and then there's that authentically occurring natural light that you don't have to force, that you don't have to... It's truly comes down to faith over fear. It's that simple, right? I guess that's not super simple for everybody, but it really is faith over fear. Okay, the lighting behind me is making things weird. I don't know if that helps at all. I should have just closed my blinds before I did this. I'm sorry, guys. We'll do better next time, right? I'll be more prepared. That's a little better. Okay. Your mind can become more spacious and luminous if you practice emptying it on a regular basis. The radiant mind can be a mighty warrior against fear and despair, encouraging you with thoughts of optimism. When not given a chance to empty, however, the mind becomes overwhelmed with unprocessed information. Much of it will be fear-based programming perpetuating the mass media, which is invested in controlling others and manipulating them by fear. This is such a synchronistic card to get after I just went on that whole spill about exactly that, isn't it? Did you love when that happens? This initiation, which liberates and opens the mind, empowers advanced souls to free themselves from manipulation and control. The hallmark of dysfunctional society is that the mind is expected to dominate the inclinations of the heart rather than serve it. The mind can be trained to be a great manager, creator, and defender of what has genuine value to the heart. But the power to feel what has meaning for us, what moves us enough to rise above our fears and risk growth, comes from the heart, not the mind. When the mind is given the task to feel, and the heart is told not to feel, paralysis, confusion, and discomfort are experienced. As you enter into this initiation, you will feel the need to step back from what you have been taught and learn to question what you once held to be true. As you disengage from habitual mental patterns, you will begin to observe your thoughts rather than be swept up in them. Soon, you will begin to experience yourself as the peaceful, steady light of love that you are in truth. Will the mind go through its motions? Yes. However, there's no need to be afraid of this. One step at a time. Your spirit shall guide your mind back towards peace. You will change the way you relate to your own mind, becoming more empowered. As you soften the strident action of the mind, you will see that you can use your mental gifts wisely rather than allowing them to cause you pain. See, that's what I mean by integrating the shadow. When you are consciously expressing something, once you integrate that dark, once that shadow's integrated, the expression changes. So globally, what's happening is that shadow, the shadow's integrating. So the expression of it's going to be conscious. And when things are consciously expressed, they're a lot less likely to cause harm to self or other. As you all have found out with your own soul journey and your own shadow work. Okay. Those who have strong mental energies can accomplish much in terms of communication, invention, and creativity. But they often also suffer from destructive self-talk and mental obsessions. Man, this is synchronistic, guys, with the message I just gave. They may even be addicted to thinking, which can wear them out and create cravings for sugar that can lead to depression and illness. Instead, it is much better to regularly take time out from the mind and be in the moment, feeling energized, playful, and at peace. Your mind is a powerful creature. Tame it with persistence, compassion, kindness, and strength. Give yourself rest and an opportunity to switch off and empty your mind as regularly as you can. There is no need to judge or despair. This is an advanced initiation and one that is brought to you only when you are ready. Consider it as a sign of your spiritual progress. The world will benefit from you as you learn to handle your mental energies more constructively. This oracle is indeed an omen of greater peace and happiness in your imminent future. I feel like this message, this card, especially because air element is the voice, it's truth, it's so significant to both collectives that I spoke about in, today's message, both the light collective and the dark collective. This message is for both. So regardless of where you are on your journey, regardless of whether you're the black hole energy sucking everything up and operating on the planet as death energy, or you're the light energy exuding, and putting out life energy. This message is for all of you, the collective as a whole, the whole collective, both the yin and the yang, both the dark and the light, the shadow and light. I feel like this message is for everybody. So I do hope that it finds who it is meant to. Right now my channel's like super small and I barely get any views, and I don't really care. So long as I put this message out there, I think that those who are meant to find it when they're meant to find it will find it. Wow, that was a mouthful. Moving on to our invocation. And I'll use I because that's how it's written in this book, but you can also say this out loud with me. I call upon the unconditionally loving ones to help me empty and refresh my mind. Renewed in eternal love, may I express my freedom in making wise decisions that create joy and love in me and in the world. I ask for divine mercy, compassion, protection, and instruction to assist me in bringing my mind into a loving consciousness. May the light of the divine shine unobstructed through my mind and bring peace to the world. May the unconditionally loving helpers of humanity help bring light, healing, and joy to the minds of all. Through my own free will, so it be, or so be it. Ashe, ashe, ashe. I'm sending you guys so much love to the universe and beyond. Bye.